Greetings, viewers, governors, and Galatron mining representatives to this, the 141st episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 13th of January 2016 and featuring Vengeance on Varos by Philip Martin with Colin Baker as the Doctor and Nicola Bryant as Perry. My name is Randy Ronson McCulloch, and with me is Mad Matt Winchell,
Unlimited power.
Aaron Romeo Moan Burke,
Marshmallow chocolate milk.
and Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Hey.
Bill Men in Black Sylvia will be joining us when he gets home from work, which will probably happen sometime during the news.
Possibly.
Speaking of the news, let's go ahead and get into that. We actually have a little bit today. Not all of it Doctor Who related.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Today's birthdays include our very own Randy Ranson McCulloch, who
Yes.
is turning 40.
I am turning
Happy
40 in about
birthday.
half an hour.
Woo!
Mm.
Happy birthday! All right. Also, around this time of the year, Jeffrey Belden, right? Belden?
Something like that.
who has a particularly unique history with Doctor Who, turned 91 on Thursday the 7th. Not only was Belden considered for the role of the Doctor in the 1960s, he also appeared in the 17th season story, The Creature from the Pit, and appeared as the Doctor in 2 Doctor Who Unbound stories for Big Finish Productions. We wish a posthumous happy birthday to First Doctor William Hartnell, who would have been 107 last on Friday, the 8th, if not for his passing in 1975. Since we are discussing Vengeance on Varos, we would be remiss not to mention that Jason Connery, son of Sean Connery, who played Jondar in the story, turned 52 on Monday the 11th. Happy
Yes.
birthday to all.
Yes, happy birthday, Jason.
Happy birthday.
You did a really good job in that Mordor game. What is your character's name? That's right, Ship Captain. Interesting.
Yes.
No, seriously, he was in Shadow Mordor. I looked it up before we started. He's actually got 2 more movies in the works right now, too, so he's not doing too bad for himself.
Yeah, a lot of actors' sons do well. Look at, Troughton's kids.
Mm-hmm.
And Pertwee's kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. However, some sad news. The world has experienced 2 devastating losses. One, David Bowie, British singer, musician, and actor, passed away this Monday at the age of 69 after an 18-month battle with liver cancer.
He had to wait until he was 69 to die.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is, he was 69 for 2 days.
Yep. He waited just that long so he could say he died at 69.
Also, his final album released on his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And literally a lot of the messages is him preparing for his death. Which, and in the end of it, it was literally a send-off to his fan base that he's probably not coming back. Which is really weird timing.
That's
He
really
obviously knew he was
depressing.
passing.
Oh, yeah, he knew. I mean, this was an 18-month battle with liver cancer, which probably the doctors were telling him was inoperable and terminal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining what a great master he would have been.
David Bowie? I don't know.
Look at Venture Brothers, man.
Yeah,
He
that's actually pretty cool.
would have been a great master. In real life, he's already a step ahead of everyone.
All of us grew up listening to Bowie. That's just,
Mm-hmm.
kind of depressing.
Yeah. Another loss. Leonard White, the British television producer, most known for his work on ITV's Police Surgeon and The Avengers, passed away at the age of 99.
And
So,
while that's sad news, I mean, that's almost 20 years into a good run.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really say anything about that. And I actually looked up, I did a little research on that. He died in a nursing home. at 99 of natural causes. So, you can't really say anything about that. No really, horrible, horrific diseases or anything. He died in his sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And one last one. David Margulies, a New York City-based actor, probably most known for playing Mayor Lenny in the 2 Ghostbusters movies, passed away at the age of 78 this week.
Almost a good run.
Almost. Very close.
May I also have one last one? Apparently, I just found it here on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brian Bedford, Tony-winning classical actor and the voice of Disney's Robin Hood, has died at the age of 80.
Also made a good run.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, the voice of Disney's
The
Robin Hood, as in the animated Fox Robin Hood?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Damn, I grew up with that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, still, he made the good run. So, I mean, for how many decades ago was Robin Hood made?
That was
That had
70s,
to
I
have
believe.
been, that had to have been
70s.
at least the 60s, if not the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, so that was 40, 50 years ago, so.
That was my first Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw other Robin Hood movies, I thought, what a novel concept, having human beings play Robin Hood.
So, we were right last week when we got hit heavy by the death bug. It's still not Doctor Who related, though, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Still.
a lot of really big ones, though.
Yeah. They keep firing the machine gun and, hitting around the targets, but thankfully no Doctor Who deaths yet.
They took a big one, though.
Yep. Bowie's gonna be missed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on to our Doctor Who news, which we do actually have a little bit. We have some episode news. We have the final ratings for Australia via DoctorWhoNews.net. The final ratings for Husbands of River Song in Australia are in, albeit over half a month after the airing of the episode. One might assume their drivers had to smuggle the data past the hordes of Morton Joe and his war boys to get the data to the tabulator. In any case, the episode was the highest time-shifted program of the day with 186,000 extra viewers, as compared to the 33,000 that second place received, bringing the total to approximately 761,000 viewers in the 5 major capital cities, and the 7th highest rated program for the day overall. Again, these ratings do not include online or regional viewers.
Okay. On to future episodes. Class is to be co-produced with BBC America. Now that Christmas has passed, we have eagerly been awaiting the next bits of news about Class, which we've been presuming will air prior to Series 10. We can now confirm via Doctor Who News that the 8-part miniseries, which airs in the autumn, will be a co-production between BBC and BBC America, much as Doctor Who already is. What this means, of course, is that BBC America will be airing the spin-off, if there was never any doubt.
Yeah, that's good news because, when Torchwood first came out, there was a lot of debate whether we would be seeing it in the US, and eventually I think we didn't until BBC America finally bought rights to it later. It's good to know that will be showing up on our screens.
In additional news to this, Peter Capaldi would like to cameo in Class. Continuing our discussion of Class, Cultbox brings us some news from the different direction. Peter Capaldi has indicated that he would be interested in appearing in the spin-off, but as yet no one from the production has broached the topic with him yet. I'm sure that might be fun, yes, but nobody's asked me yet, he said. To be honest, I haven't seen any of the scripts, but yes, obviously as a spin-off, it'd be nice if the Doctor did show up from time to time. I agree.
Well, the Doctor never did show up on Torchwood. He did Sarah Jane Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, of course, that when the Doctor shows up cameoing in a spin-off like this, it's immediately his show.
Mm-hmm.
It runs the problem of that, but then again, it would also have to probably be something so big that the usual cast couldn't usually keep up with it. I would think,
Maybe.
too.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, yes, they would have to call in the bigger guns like the Doctor.
All right. Well, that's it for our actual episode news at this point.
Yes. Yes. Moving on, we have news about Sylvester McCoy. Is that he is set to star in The Real Marigold Hotel. This is a BBC Two travel documentary series inspired by the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel film series. The series will feature 8 famous senior citizens, of which we can assume the 953-year-old doctor certainly qualifies, including Miriam Margolyes, Wayne Sleep, Roy Walker, Rosemary Schrager, Bobby George, Patty Boulay, and Jan Lemming, as they spend 3 weeks in India. I have no idea who any of those people are.
Neither do I.
Nope.
While this is officially a documentary series, the description gives the indication that this may be more of a reality TV program in which the stars determine how best to share a mansion and determine if they would enjoy retirement in India. The series, in which McCoy claims his role was to raise a smile and play the spoons, airs late this month.
I'm imagining that now. It's just they keep cutting to him, and he just grabs the morning silverware and starts playing spoons at the breakfast table, while the other
Yep.
people look at him annoyed.
Because he can do that,
All right. That seems to conclude our main Doctor Who news. We now have our Big Finish news. And even though I did kind of drop the Big Finish bomb last week, we have a few add-ons. The first bit is Big Finish has released information on the two Masters. This year marks 45 years of the Master. While 4 of the 5 main on-screen Masters are unavailable to Big Finish, BigFinish.com assures us that they'll be celebrating this year with a number of stories, starting with a trio of main range stories featuring the 5th, 6th, and 7th Doctors facing off against the Master, as played by Geoffrey Beevers and Big Finish exclusive Master Alex McQueen. The trilogy begins with Alan's own Doctor Who, And You Will Obey Me, in which the 5th Doctor arrives at a quiet churchyard in the English countryside, the supposed last resting place of the Old Master, Geoffrey Beevers. But alien forces are gathered around, determined to ensure that the Master will not rest in peace. Then, in Justin Richards' Doctor Who, Vampire of the Mind, the 6th Doctor suspects the hand of his oldest enemy behind a spate of mysterious disappearances. But will even he recognize the new Master, Alex McQueen, when he arrives at the scene of one of their earlier encounters? The saga comes to an epic conclusion with Doctor Who, The Two Masters by John Dorney. The 7th Doctor is drawn into a desperate battle with his archenemy, Squared. Then, they've also released information on Jago and Lightfoot, Series 11 and 12. This news post contains spoilers for the shock ending of Jago and Lightfoot, Series 10. Everybody okay with that? Moving on. This April, Henry Gordon Jago and Professor George Lightfoot will face their most fearsome opponent yet in the form of Geoffrey Beevers as the Master. After his shock appearance at the end of Jago and Lightfoot Series 10, the Master is ready to extend his shadow across all of Victorian London, pushing their detectives to the very limits. Elsewhere in the box set, Jago encounters a previously unknown son, a sinister force endangers the life of famed composer Maurice, and Dracula author Bram Stoker joins the detectives for a historical adventure. But the infernal investigations won't end there, as October 26 will see the release of Jago and Lightfoot Series 12. Following directly on from the terrifying events of Series 11, this new set will see an ancient enemy emerging from the shadows. More news will be coming soon. Both of these stories are available for discounted pre-order prices on BigFinish.com. Whew. Man, just when I thought Big Finish couldn't say any more. All right, we have some general science fiction news articles here. Aaron, you want to take the first one?
Big Finish articles?
No, science fiction news after the Big Finish.
Oh.
Look for the red highlight.
Ah, yes, Dirk Gently. In news that came out at the same time as their class announcement, BBC America announced they will also be producing an 8-episode adaptation of Douglas Adams' third best-known work, after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and, well, Doctor Who. Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency parts of which is inspired by the uncompleted Doctor Who episode Shada. The books were previously adapted for BBC4 beginning in 2010. It is unknown if the series, Dirk Gently, will be related to the 2010 series which shared the same name.
This is awesome news for me because I actually loved the Dirk Gently series. Even it was a very short-lived series. In 2010, it had like one starter movie special,
I believe it's on Netflix.
and then it had like only 2 or 3 episodes.
Maybe. Let me see.
And I freaking loved it. But the BBC had funding issues and couldn't make any more. So I have no idea if this is actually going to be the same actor doing the same bits, or if they're basically rebooting it. Either way, I'm cool with it because Dirk Gently is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I'll see if it's on Netflix here, the original. Dirk.
So I guess I should move on with the next article.
Yes.
Yeah,
We are going to be having another family-friendly show wherein the people will help save the world through a reality TV series. And no, this is not a friendly version of The Running Man. Nor is it today's episode's Vengeance on Varos, but instead it is a new upcoming Power Rangers series called Power Rangers Ninja Steel. Sadly there's no images for it, at least that I can see right here, but it looks like it'll be coming out sometime soon. And it has been released by IGN ahead of time.
Okay.
Apparently it should be another little run of the ongoing series.
We had a synopsis here if you want to read that, Matt, or should I, since you're...
It'll put up the whole thing on screen, so...
Okay, Savan's Power Rangers Ninja Steel starts in deep space, where Zircon is the reigning champion of the most powerful intergalactic game show in the universe, and monsters battle to prove who is the mightiest warrior. Zircon is determined to become invincible by controlling the mythical Spirit Crystal, which contains 6 supernatural ninja power throwing stars. The only thing standing in his way is a new team of heroic teenage Power Rangers who possess the Spirit Crystal. The evil Zircon sends his warrior combatants down to Earth to steal the crystal, where each epic battle against the Rangers is broadcast throughout the universe. Together, the Rangers must master their arsenal of throwing stars, Zords, and Megazords, each made of legendary ninja steel, in order to stop this evil threat and save our planet of destruction. My God, it's Mojo meets the Power Rangers.
And it is glorious.
Should be interesting. Again, I will state that the image that you're seeing is actually the past season, not the upcoming one.
Because it's still in production.
Yeah, technically it's still... Is it still in production in Japan?
I don't know. They haven't said. This is the 2017 iteration, so it
So
could
it's the
be...
one that's going to be coming out next year for America, so I think it might still be in production in Japan. Should be releasing sometime this year.
Ah. All right. Our final piece of news tonight is George Miller. In a recent interview with Page Six, director George Miller says he will not direct another movie in his trademark Mad Max series. Says Miller, "I won't make more Mad Max movies. Fury Road with Charlize Theron, Zoe Kravitz, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, and Riley Keough was forever getting completed. If you finish one in a year, it's considered a leap of faith. Start, stop, start again. I've shot in Australia in a field of wildflowers and flat red earth when it rained heavily forever. We had to wait 18 months, and every return to the U.S. was 27 hours. Those Mad Maxes take forever. I won't do those anymore." He did later say, while he's not up for directing, he may still work as producer on another Mad Max. We here at Unearthly Podcast have this to say. Come on! Come on! I mean, it's not Mad Max unless George Miller directs it.
Or at the very least, writes it. He's written all of them, at least to some degree.
So we blame him for the homoeroticism in Mad Max?
I guess, if you're really convinced that it's there. And there is a bit of it here and there.
Excuse me, what did Lord Humongous call his warriors? Yeah, I rest my case.
I don't know, what did he call his warriors, because I didn't really pay that close of attention to it.
I would say, but it would change the rating of this podcast. And knowing Bill, he would show up just as I said it. You go, that's interesting to come in on. Yeah.
Still, as long as he's actually there for at least some of it, it should prevent it from going too far off the rails.
Yeah,
But I can understand his frustrations when he tries to plan something and all of a sudden weather literally fucks up everything.
yeah, I'm hoping, once he rests for a while and settles down, he'll think about it again.
And he'll suddenly start getting that Mad Max itch.
Yes. Because, he reintroduced the world to Mad Max, and it was awesome. It was glorious.
And he knows he has ideas yet, and it's going to be a matter of time before they keep pestering him to the point that he can't say no.
Yeah, you have to do it. He's already hinted that he had scripts in mind and everything, and come on, we want to see these scripts.
I mean, this is a man who said he was officially done after Thunderdome too, so at most
Yeah,
he's going
and
to
it
take a
took
few
him
years
30
hiatus.
years to do another one.
That's
But he
because
got
every
beyond
time he tried putting
Thunderdome.
together, it would fall apart again. If he gets lucky this time and
Let-
he decides to do it again.
Let's hope that if he does decide, it's not after Tom Hardy goes crazy and becomes a Nazi. Anybody else have any news?
My graphics card works really, really well. That's
Oh,
about
you
all
got
I
it.
got.
Good for you.
You got it then.
Oh yeah, I could play Shadow and Mordor on my computer.
You got that monitor working too?
I had to hijack the power from my external hard drive. Yes.
Okay, awesome. You should, like I said, you should be able to find a universal adapter that works. If you go,
I tried looking up finding a bloody adapter for it. All I got was a migraine. At least I have a cord I can compare it to, though, if I try finding stuff in a store.
yeah. I don't know if you got any more Radio Shacks up there. I know they're like rare, bordering on non-existent anymore.
I guarantee the only one that was anything that had anything to do with Radio Shack has already gotten rid of that sign around here. So, yeah, that's kind of
Any towns nearby have a Best Buy?
I think Fond du Lac had one that died about half a year ago now.
Okay. I'm just thinking of places you could take it that would have an adapter. It's hard to tell.
It's all going to Madison or Milwaukee or all the way up to like Appleton.
Well, if push comes to shove, if you have money by OddCon, we can go find one.
Wait,
True.
what are you guys talking about?
The cord for that monitor.
Oh, I have it here. I still haven't sent it to Matt yet. It's been really, really cold, and I don't feel like walking down to the post office, dude. So, and I also don't know how to package it. Probably as that was at one rate shipping or whatever they have
Yeah,
now. Priority
they
shipping.
should have a small box that you can put it in.
Find like
Okay.
a small box or an envelope or something to force it into and just go there. It's got some bubble wrap. It'll be fine.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah, I have that here though.
or you can wait till the mail with the new pump for our cat fountain comes, and you can just repackage it in that.
That'll be next week, I think, sometime. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently I unplugged my new monitor and then I unplugged it, moved my old monitor out, put the new one in, and then just never unplugged the old monitor's cord completely.
That would explain why the printer was not plugged in. Okay. End of our domestic news.
As it turned out.
So, let's move on to the 5-minute challenge. I'm actually surprised Bill isn't here yet. But let's see what
Mildly surprised as well, but
A little wary. What?
Anybody have any plans for the 5-minute challenge?
I did last week, didn't I?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if
So
no
not it.
volunteers, I will go ahead.
Well, you don't want Aaron to make you want to hemorrhage your brain, and
Yeah, I'm not allowed to
Tim
do
only
it
wants to-
anymore. Last time I heard.
You parodied doing it last time you did it, honey.
Yeah, don't you like parody?
Not when it comes to this. All right, so put the stopwatch up, Matt.
Already
I
up.
swear you did that deliberately so you'd never have to do it again.
I'm not telling.
Whenever you're ready.
All right.
Ready?
Yep.
Start in 3, 2, 1, go.
While traveling through space and time, the TARDIS basically stops. The Doctor first becomes depressed that it's running out of power, and then when it moves briefly again, he realizes that the problem is that the power transition elements, which run on a crystal called Zyton 7, are breaking down. He needs to obtain more Zyton 7 in order to fix the TARDIS. Using the emergency power booster, he barely manages to get the TARDIS to the planet Varos, where he discovers that things are not exactly pleasant. Varos is a former prison world and is largely treated as such. Anybody that violates the rules are treated to the punishment dome, which basically features various levels of torture and execution. Doctor and Perry come out during one of these execution sessions where a prisoner is sentenced to be executed via an overloading power source. Of course, the Doctor has to stop this, and Perry and the prisoner escape. They are briefly helped by the prisoner's wife, who is also being helped to escape by another guard. The guard is unfortunately killed, and the Doctor gets separated from Perry and the others and eventually wanders into a kill zone where he is assumed to be dead. The others are captured quickly thereafter. However, the Doctor isn't really dead, he's only faking dead. And he steps up after tossing a couple of guards into an acid bath by accident. He soon escapes and is recaptured and is executed. Meanwhile, the government here, the governor, is basically dealing with the Galatron mining representative to try to negotiate their share price for their Zyton 7 ore. The representative is a worm creature called Syl, who seems to be very sadistic. In reality, Syl has made a deal with the captain of the guards to undermine the governor's authority to get a more favorable governor in place. Whenever a governor loses a vote to its people, he is bombarded by cell disruptor rays. The governor has already had 3 such, and they are sure another one will kill him. The governor makes a pledge to capture the rebel forces, meaning the Doctor and Jandar, the person he rescued. But with the Doctor re-escaping and everything, he is sent to what was called final death sudden vote. When the cell destructor beams rain down on him for the last time, another guard he was familiar with helps him escape that fate, and he and Perry escape into the tunnels, or into the ducting in the prison. Meanwhile, the Doctor has had a fake execution and has managed to escape again, damaging the control for the punishment dome. They find themselves, in the end, the far outer portion of the dome, where the Doctor realizes some fauna are actually deadly vines. He and Jandar tie up the vines, and when the forces, including the captain of the guard and their interrogator, come to get him, the vines are thrown onto the interrogator, killing them. Then the Doctor and Governor return and restore democracy to Varos. Also, Syl plans to invade the planet, and that's stopped because they find Zyton on a small world.
Yay.
Asteroid, I believe, actually.
Yeah, biosculptor, asteroid biosculptor. Planetoid, asteroid, something like that. How'd I do?
Right. You, outside of that little extension, that was about 3 minutes, and I would say about 30 seconds.
Awesome. You've been complaining I've been doing it too long. I did it short.
Yes. See, you can do them short.
All right. I picked this. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. I just turned 40. Happy birthday to me.
And many more.
So I am now halfway on my trip to a good run.
Halfway to a decent run.
I'm wondering how much of the second half, if I last that long, is going to spend drooling on myself and requiring a nurse.
How much was the first half?
What's that?
How much of that was the first half?
None that I'm aware of.
A year.
Because I think it'll be the same. Or even less.
I'm confused.
Tim was wondering how much of my first 40 years I spent drooling on myself and requiring a nurse, and I'm like, that was like the first year of my life, maybe. And he's saying that maybe when I'm in 79 to 80, I'll be that level.
Return to that state of being. The state of childhood. Only as an old man.
Okay.
Well, the plus side about that point, you'll be okay for adult depends.
No one hit Matt for that.
I'll hit him later. Just come here down for odd count. Hi, Matt. Death Noogie.
All right, so let's continue.
Still no bill, huh?
Yeah, there's still no bill.
Bill is taking a long time to show up tonight.
Bill, Bill, where are you?
He's lucky tonight's his last night for this.
Hopefully.
Well, he has to tell them that he has to be in school and stuff, so he can't work Wednesdays.
That doesn't necessarily stop employers from scheduling you, unfortunately.
When it interrupts school, yes, it does, because that means that he has to legally tell them no.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't stop Aaron's employers, but
That wouldn't stop
different...
Aaron's employers, because Aaron's employers are...
My employers are being investigated by the feds for interrogating people for attending union meetings.
Oh.
Yeah. That started to backfire on them, didn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That's, it may not be a good idea to, take your employees down and question them about attending union meetings. It might get you in trouble with the feds.
Yeah.
Just a word of warning.
Yeah, it's more proof that Aaron's employers are on another level of delusional. They think that I've said before they think it's the 1950s. I'm pretty sure of this now. What they did was kind of McCarthyism, and yeah.
Yeah.
They're on a whole new level of...
All right, so let's get to our likes and dislikes. We'll have Bill fill in his when he shows up, if he shows up.
If he shows up in time for the show, yes.
All right, so good aspects of it. As usual, Matt, you're number one with a bullet.
Oh, good things I liked about this.
I'm taking it you didn't like this episode.
I don't hate it by any means. It was very much middle of the road though for a lot of it. I will say that this is probably the most likable that the Sixth Doctor has been in an episode up to this point. He does have his moments of get over it sighs and depression out of nowhere at the very beginning of it. But after about the halfway point of the first episode, he finally starts kicking into full gear like the way we want him to be.
Yeah, that manic depressive twist, but yeah. So that's your thing for this?
Yeah, this is after about the halfway point of the first episode. The rest of this, which is 3/4 of it, is the Doctor that we're supposed to be getting, not the Doctor that they wanted to give us.
All right, Tim, how about you?
I really liked how this presented what life was like on Varos through the different levels of government, like with the guards and then the governor and then like that couple that they kept cutting back to.
Mm-hmm.
God, that couple was
It's
great.
kind of the dog eat dog world.
Yeah. And just like how the effect of living in such a society would have on like just the average everyday people, which you often don't see much of in science fiction.
Yeah, it. I think largely what you're saying is the amount of world building that went into this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. The world building was very well done in this.
Mm-hmm.
They had names and abbreviations for just about every single faction. They really went into detail on, the officer guards versus the mining class. There was a lot of social listing in here. It was actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, there was a whole history to the world, too, that actually explained quite a bit of why things worked the way they did.
All right. Aaron, how about you?
I liked Syl.
Still was a very good villain.
Yes.
Yeah,
he
was.
was a good
He was
villain.
not good.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
very
Bill
obvious
is
why they
here,
brought
but
him back.
he's in Do Not Disturb mode.
Yes, but
Yep.
he's actually joined the call, so.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'm in Do Not Disturb mode because I've joined the call. Happy
Oh,
birthday, by
okay.
the way.
Oh.
Thank you. You actually missed it.
You missed it
By
like
about-
10 minutes.
By about 10 minutes, Bill. What took
What
so
happened?
long?
Issues getting out of work. We closed with a short staff because it was so slow, and then there was a monetary issue that kept me 20 minutes later than I expected.
Ah.
Ah, jeez.
Well, we already shot through the news. We were on to our likes and dislikes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you like about this, Bill?
It tackled interesting concepts. The person who couldn't stand the governor but didn't have a reason why other than that he felt like not standing the governor, even though he was no different than any other, at least based on the discussion. Things like that, just looking at concepts like that. This is not a Robert Holmes script, right? Because that's
No.
something I would kind of expect from him, but it's not him.
No, it's not. This was written by Philip Martin, whom I'm not too familiar with, and was script edited by Eric Soward. Let's see. Do I know anything else about Philip Martin? And I'm pretty sure that's not who I'm looking for. Screenwriter. There we go. What else has he done? He did Z Cars. He wrote.
Zed.
Yeah, Z Cars.
Yes,
sorry.
this is the perfect episode to make that mistake.
Yes.
Although the fact that the Sixth Doctor is not familiar with American pronunciations of words is kind of, well, I mean, it's the Sixth Doctor, so he's just being an ass for the sake of it. But still,
I think so.
they're not in Britain.
I-
They're on the freaking TARDIS.
I think he did it deliberately to correct Perry, because yeah.
It's something he likes to troll on about.
Yep. Let's face it, the Sixth Doctor was kind of like the Jeremy Clarkson of doctors. Because, Clarkson would have done the same thing.
And yet there are probably more people on Earth that say Z than say Z, just due to population differences. So she was the right one and he was the wrong one, if you're going to go by that, seeing as how they weren't on Earth.
So
I actually meant to ask our Canadian cousins whether they use Z or Z.
They do. They use Z because I remember seeing an infographic of things Americans should know about Canada, and Z was one of them.
So really, it was one of the revolutionary forefathers basically going,
It was
fuck you.
No, it was probably Webster. Most of the differences are Webster.
Yeah, screw you, Webster. I'll go with Oxford English. Anyway, he also worked on Tandoori Nights, Star Cops, Virtual Murder. He did also, of course, do The Trial of a Time Lord, which we will look at later. He's worked for Big Finish, so
Oh.
he worked on The Creed of the Crowman.
Mind Warp is from Trial, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sitting there like his TARDIS Data Core doesn't mention Trial because it's mentions Time Warp. Okay.
Yeah, it's Mind Warp. Yeah, that's the second part of Trial of Time Lord.
Mm-hmm.
He'd also wrote a script called Mission to Magnus, which starred Syl, but that was never put into, never filmed or done anything. That was probably was because it was it was planned for when the show was put on hiatus in 1985.
Which one was Syl? Because I don't think I picked up anyone's name in this story.
The Slug.
Okay.
The slimy guy, Syl. You should know who that is.
I don't like. I watched the story 2.5 times, and I didn't catch anybody's name being
That's
uttered
because
once.
most of them, the only one that we actually think we hear his name for, other than a couple of guards, is Quillen.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Because it's just the governor and the guard captain. Other than that, we've got Meldak, the young guard,
and the couple arguing in front of the television.
Yeah, and Ron, and I don't think we ever hear their names either, except we hear her name. Started with an A. No, wait, no, that was the. I don't remember, but
that was the wife of the rebel, isn't it?
Yeah, but I thought her name was A too, but that might have just been from.
I think their name started with an E and an A. I think because I was looking them up for the title card, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yar.
Let's see.
Anyway, I think we were on what Randy liked.
Arak and Edda were their names.
There we go.
And then Areta is John Dar's wife. Yeah, so what did I like about this? I really liked most of the acting in this. Forbes Collins, who played the chief officer, the chief guard.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, came from the "did somebody order a large ham" level of acting, but it was never so much that you had to completely roll your eyes. He looked like he actually loved what he was doing.
Oh yeah, he was obviously loving it every minute. Getting to be a sleazy bastard.
Martin Jarvis, who played the governor, also did a very good.
Was the chief guard the one with the mask that was doing the torturing? Or
no, that was Quillen. The chief guard was the bald, slightly fat one with the mustache.
I know exactly. Okay.
Too late. Sorry, that guy.
Yeah. Did anyone else think he looked like Sergeant Slaughter?
He looked a bit like Sergeant Slaughter, yes.
Yes, Sergeant Slaughter there. We got a new nickname for him now.
But he really he seemed to enjoy acting. Martin Jarvis did a wonderful job as the governor. Really, God, Nabil Shaban is still just unbelievable.
If I recall, he was also the president in Jubilee, wasn't he?
Martin Jarvis.
I seem to recognize him from when I was looking at pictures of the actor from Jubilee. That's why it rings a bell.
By the way,
I don't see that listed in his filmography.
Guard captain's on the right, governor's on the left, and Syl's the little squiggly guy in the middle.
He is.
Yes. According to TARDIS Data Core, he was in Jubilee. He was in Jubilee.
Okay.
As Nigel Rochester. Yeah. So that was the president.
Yeah, I don't see that on Wikipedia. He was in several other things. He played Alfred in he played Alfred in the Batman Arkham games.
Oh, apparently he was in both First Doctor and Third Doctor. Oh no, wait, yeah, First Doctor and Third Doctor stories.
Yes, he was in Web Planet and Invasion of the Dinosaurs, but we won't hold that against him.
Yeah, we're talking about the governor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he played Alfred Pennyworth in the Arkham games. He was also Admiral Zalcoris Vaz Quib in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 for Mass Effect friends.
For the Mass Effect fans out there, I haven't played
He was
any of them,
also
but
the
apparently they're
second
very good.
voice of Nergal in The Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Hmm.
So he's done quite a bit of voice work.
Yeah,
Good for him.
apparently.
He's also one of the villains that attends the self-help groups with Ralph in the movie Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, wonder which villain he was.
Satine, I believe it's Satan, something like that.
Zaitan?
It's Saitine. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it was one of the classic ones. Anyway, yes, the acting in this is just unbelievably good. All right, so things you didn't like. Again, starting with you, Matt.
Darn, I was looking up the Saitan guy. Okay, he's like a Satan knockoff. Gotcha.
And yeah, I'm like Wreck-It Ralph is the first result, so I don't think he's from something else.
I was botching the spelling. I just happened to get it quickly. Okay. Anyway, things I didn't like. Something that I really clearly did not like. I think their lighting people were nuts.
God damn it, Matt. That was my number one thing, because I'm like, the entire episode looks the same, and why? Oh, it's because of the running lighting.
The lighting was very samey in those hallways, and they saw hallways all looked literally samey. But here's the thing, though, too, is if they turned off some of those bloody dang lights, I saw one of the pictures here. It actually looked like it could have been almost like aliens in there if they would have just lowered the lights a bit. It could have made the hallways that much more interesting. They could have really done some better stuff if they just had someone who was willing to take some smart risks with the lighting and actually do something creative with it.
At the same time, what they were aiming for was drab and uniform prison. So,
well, actually, here I can.
But
I
it
can
looked
show
like
you.
a drab and uniform prison at the people's houses, and
Look at that hallway. Look at how it looks like without all those bloody lights on. Does not that not look better? I think there's even a little bit of fog machine going on too. I'm not sure why they're doing that, because it's obviously they're obviously just kind of showing off the outfits for.
oh, that's from near the end of the episode where they're seeing their hallucinatory selves, I think.
Could have been.
Because that's, I think, the only time where you have all three of them in a corridor by themselves.
Mm-hmm. But still, look at the lighting. Look at how they never used that lighting in the actual episode. And how much better it could have been. Like I said, I get a much more better Aliens vibe out of it. If they would have told off the lighting guy and got somebody better who was willing to do some decent stuff with it, this episode would have looked tenfold better. Easily.
Yeah, at the same time, they were doing it on a really tiny budget in...
The tiny budget uses even more reason to use less lights.
Yeah, but what I mean is they just used studio lights and that was it. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing. I'm saying this is the low-budget era of Doctor Who.
Yeah, and again, they could have so easily fixed their problem by actually wasting less money on more lights that made things look more fake.
All right.
That's what they needed.
So,
Anyway.
Tim, how about you? What didn't you like about the episode?
Probably the budget. In that there were some things that could have been better if they just had more money.
A few things here and there.
What?
A few things here and there, yeah. Go on.
A few things here and there. Things like the cell molecular transmogrification chamber.
The cell disruptor beams too. What could have been?
Beams.
Actually, yeah. The beam effects period could have been upgraded a little bit.
Yeah.
And it could have been a bit nicer if those vines had moved around or done something except other than just be poisonous to touch.
Could sit there.
Yeah.
And that is a problem with this era of Doctor Who. Really, it was about the final season of the Fifth Doctor you really started to see the production values drop. And that was because, of course, the cost to make an episode increased, and Doctor Who's budget did not. You really see it, I think, when the Fifth Doctor revisits the Sea Devils, and they have to reuse the masks for the Sea Devils from the Third Doctor era, and they can't afford to retouch them or make any alterations to them. They looked terrible. And so you would get big budget episodes, which were usually big name things like Daleks and Cybermen, and then all the other episodes had to kind of scrape by.
Yeah, you use rubber masks from like 10 years ago. And then you just kind of face palm.
We've lost Bill again, by the way.
Yard.
Yard.
I told him not to play with the vines.
So, Aaron, what was your least favorite thing about the episode?
I think something that really kind of disrupted the flow of the episode for me were the more primitive prisoners.
Oh.
They just didn't seem to work.
The cannibals?
The cannibals, yes.
Yeah, they really just looked like old men in Depends. Talk about Depends.
Pretty much, yeah. They just looked like old men in Depends. They could have at least thrown actual prisoner garb on them somehow, or possibly they could have possibly have been factions of this resistance. So we didn't see just the husband and wife team. You'd see other people fighting with the resistance and not just them.
Well, interestingly enough, one of the extended scenes show that there actually is no resistance. Jandar was basically the equivalent of a valet on the cars for the officer elite in the upper domes. He transported cars from domes to domes. He was a driver. And he was not allowed to go into the dome of the officer elite. So one day he stowed away in the trunk. And he saw this massive inequality between what the officer elite had and what the rest of Varos had, even though they were preaching that they're all in this together. And before that, they labeled him a resistance rebel and arrested him and his wife.
I'd also explain why he and his wife have slightly better garb than the usual miners, too. I noticed that they had very different outfits compared to the two regular miners that we see throughout the episode.
Again, that's probably because they had such a large role that they actually spent a little more money on their outfits than the regulars.
That too, but I'm talking about in-world reasons.
While we're waiting for Bill to re-answer the call, we will, let's see, what I didn't like about the episode. Because I actually kind of like this episode. It's one of my favorites. I actually recommended this for my birthday.
I'm back. Skype's been acting up for me ever since the most recent update. It's really annoying.
All right. Well, you're back in time to say what you didn't like about this episode overall, other than the lighting, which Matt.
Yeah, that was my number one thing, because it messed with the visuals so much that the episode just came off as bland and uninteresting to me, just because it was so similarly lit. Trying to think if there's any other major thing. What were the ones other than Matt's?
Tim, what was yours?
So the budget limitations.
The obvious budget limitations, yeah.
Yeah. And Aaron?
Oh, I am going to say one thing, and it's relatively minor, but it's something that I think should have been addressed. The two that are watching the main story never intersects them in any way. They just are bystanders that
they're framing devices.
They're there for flavor. And
they're framing devices, Bill. That's about it. We're supposed to mostly see the events through their eyes, so. But
Which would
yeah,
work if there weren't events inside the TARDIS.
yeah,
Like I said, mostly.
yeah.
It would have been nice if the Doctor had run into them at some point or something like that.
Even at the end would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, hello, nice to meet you. And like
it's the one with the coat. I like your
Yeah.
coat.
Um.
And then he
Alright.
would never let Perry live it down.
All right. I guess I found something I didn't like about the episode. The golf carts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
those.
Well, my main
Look
issue.
out! We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's have our guards run around in these little carts that anybody that does a light jog can outrun, and are too unwieldy and maneuverable that they could easily have problems turning corners and getting caught in the hallways. Oh, and let's charge them by the entire city or by the entire station's power, so that if power's lost there, they lose power too. Yeah, I fucking hated those carts.
Also throwing other references from Space Mutiny. While we're at
Are
it.
you implying that Varos was not intelligently run?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Yeah, well, I mean, those carts were obviously holdover from when it was a prison, so you would even thought that when it was a prison colony, it would have been a little more intelligently run. Still, I guess that's what they could find on a budget. Let's just go down to the golf course, rent a couple of carts, and put a couple of cosmetic pieces on them. After all, it's England. We have a lot of golf courses.
Put
All
some
right.
Although
folk
there
tubing on
seems
them,
to be a
that'll look
running
cool.
theme in sci-fi where if the entire planet is a prison colony, as long as you don't give them ships to leave with, they really don't care what happens after that. Whether or not the guards are killed by the inmates, whatever, they can't get off planet. Seems to be the running opinion.
Yes,
of
but this isn't
management.
just a prison planet. It's a mining planet. So
Yeah.
there has to be ships because there has to be exporting. All right. So scenes that you like.
Obviously, starting with me again. Handpick one that I really liked. I guess I'll go with the very end. The very end of the episode, where like everything is
The
that
speech?
Syl has been trying to plan is suddenly backfiring, and he's literally pleading with the Doctor to stay and help him.
Ah.
And the Doctor just goes, "Now you see me," and walks away.
You can't leave me here.
Stop!
Still screaming in frustration and anger is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Indeed.
All right, Tim, your favorite scene.
I like the fake hanging scene.
Oh, yes.
Plans within plans, that scene.
In the name of the great video.
Of the build, it is a great build up and a great payoff. When the ropes go through the pulleys completely.
Yes. Do you usually implement the noose trick? Yeah.
Well, for one, you weren't even recording. You really want to be recording if you're actually going to kill somebody.
All right, Bill, how about you? Your favorite scene?
I was going to go with something else, but I'm going to choose not necessarily the whole scene, but the moment within a scene. And that's that Perry is the one to go ahead and come up with something that saves the day. Way in the beginning when the Doctor's like, well, we're going to give up. I'm going to just sit here and age to death
In
6
emo
more
mode.
times.
Yeah.
And Perry's like, well, or we could do this and fix it. And it's something a lot of other companions get to do a lot, but I don't think Perry gets to do it all that much. And it's nice to see Perry get that moment where she proves, yeah, this is why I'm with the Doctor, and this is why he needs me around.
Because he needs a kick in the pants now and then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. After that kick in the pants, he's actually good for the rest of the episode. For the most part.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about you, Aaron? Your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is when the governor warns Perry about the about Sill's communicator not acting right. His translator software
Oh,
or whatever isn't working right, and it's the only little bit of enjoyment he gets, of entertainment he has. It just kind of shows a lighter side to the governor. It also, when he is talking or whispering with the chief of security, you see Syl in the background just kind of making these antsy motions that, he just can't stand not being in on what they're talking about. They're talking about me, aren't they? That type of deal. I thought it was a great scene.
Um, let's see. Favorite scene for me. I think it might have been when the Doctor first meets Quillam.
oh.
And he has the mask on, and they're almost doing witty repartee there for a bit.
Yeah.
After
That
you,
reminds me. What exactly was so significant about removing the mask that it allowed the Doctor to essentially take over?
it was the fact that the other guards didn't know that he had the deformation, and it basically let them jump and basically let their attention lapse off the Doctor for long enough for him to
Okay,
grab a
so
gun.
it was entirely its distraction factor.
Yes.
Essentially,
Okay,
yes.
because I
It's
kind of
distraction
like I
factor,
kind of
also
felt like
showing the fact that the
went
guy
the-
had experimented on himself originally.
Yeah.
Like I kind of felt. I mean, maybe it was just because the episode. Maybe it was because that shot like that scene lingered longer than most distraction and takeover scenes normally do. That I was just confused. I'm like, okay, like what about this deform? Like this doesn't seem to be one of those societies where a deformation means you can't be in charge, and yet they just slowly. I mean, not completely slowly, but not as fast as hey, we're taking advantage of a distraction.
Well, what
Motion
happened?
either.
What happened in that scene, if you watched, is the fact that the guard behind the Doctor jumped and drew his gun, and or changed the point of his gun from the Doctor to Quillen, just out of reflex.
Okay,
And that allowed the Doctor to spin and grab the gun from the guard
got you.
because it wasn't on him. So that was the point of that scene. Still, I like the witty repartee they first had.
Scientific
All right.
mind against scientific mind.
Scene you didn't like. I can guess one of them. It's honestly not mine, but we will see. Matt, starting with you.
Oh, I've been trying to nitpick one. Any particular scene I didn't really like. I have to say that the one that I felt was the weakest was the first mind trick, which was the giant fly. I'm sorry. Even as a person that lives on that planet, I would have been able to see through that trick. Come on. That was like the hokiest thing.
It's a fly.
What
do
if
you
think
saw
it is? It's a giant
what-
fly.
What if you heard it? What if you saw it and you saw hear a voice going, "Help me! Help me!"
I'd have to back up around the corner and give myself a chuckle.
All right, Tim.
I didn't really care for the aborted invasion.
Really?
Well, I mean, I'm all for Syl moaning and groaning, but it seemed kind of about my earlier point about the budget limitations, saying, well, we would have had the spectacular invasion, but we ran out of money and we ran out of time. The episode's done anyway, so forget that.
No, I'm pretty sure they never planned to have the invasion, even from the writing, because there was no way the prisoners could have won. The invading race had technological superiority and numeric superiority.
Well, maybe the Doctor would have stolen one of their something and made a holographic dragon and chased them away.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would work. But
Well,
it was basically The whole point of it was to undermine how unimportant Syl actually was to Galatron mining, aka his home planet Thoris Beta.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, we could do this, and we could waste some manpower. Hey, look, this asteroid has Zyton 7, and it's unoccupied. We'll deal with this instead. Screw Syl.
So not only was he not that important to his own people, he wasn't as important as he wanted to seem to the people he was negotiating with either.
No. In fact, if you once we actually see that, you will actually see that he's actually considered a bit of a joke among his people.
Hmm.
They consider him more of a nuisance than anything else.
I also wish they could have had a better explanation of how the Doctor survived that desert tunnel, other than that, oh, he's not dead after all.
Because he has a better mind. He has a more than human mind. His brain just went into a reset cycle instead of actually killing himself.
Yeah, the Doctor actually has a tendency when he's in grave danger to just go into a sort of hibernation, which is why I can't even remember. It was probably the third Doctor that did it first, but it's just something I'm so used to seeing that I didn't even ask any questions when he got back
the
up.
second Doctor might have done that first.
He might have. I'm honestly not. I feel like the third Doctor did it at least once, is why I said that.
The third Doctor did it in Planet of the Spiders.
The second
fourth
Doctor did it in Mind Robber.
Okay, the fourth Doctor did it in The Invisible Enemy. He has the ability to go into a self-induced state of coma.
Oh, that's right. The third Doctor did it in Planet of the Daleks too, which is
Oh yes,
probably what I was
sorry,
thinking
Planet
of.
of the Daleks was what I meant. I don't know why I said Planet of the Spiders. That came out wrong.
Right.
So yeah, that never bothered me. All right, so whose least favorite scene were we on? Bill?
I think so, and I'm going to go with the beginning of the scene that I mentioned earlier, which is why the whole scene wasn't my favorite, just that moment, because I really I wanted to give the Doctor a kick in the pants myself.
Yeah, where he was emo boying, yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh, I can't do anything. Woe is me. I'm just going to sit here and mope. And it was another point that, John Nathan Turner made to say, yeah, look, the Doctor's not fully regenerated. He's not stable. But at this point, he's had 2 serials. Get the fuck on with it.
Right.
Get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, get on with it.
All right, Aaron, yours.
I'm going to say the part where the Doctor wipes everyone out with the vines, like all the bad guys just die, and it's just like, that was very anticlimactic. I mean, it solves the problem, but it's not very entertaining to watch a bunch of deadly vines swing into the villains. And again, I think I have to go with, I believe it's Tim's point of view that they should have had, the vines should have been animated or some such. If they were animated and crawling and kind of, trying to strangle the bad guys, then that would be cool.
It would be a little darker, but yeah, it would be
it'd be a little darker, but
it would have been slightly more effective.
Mm-hmm. A little bit more chilling, a little bit more entertaining to watch, even if it is horrific.
And none of you mentioned the acid bath scene.
Nope.
Nah.
It didn't really bother me.
I mean, I think Tim mentioned the beginning of it because that's the Doctor sitting up was the beginning of that scene. I didn't mind it. I mean, it wasn't as graphic as I kind of thought it was going to be, and I was more like, I liked the idea of the Doctor was just sleeping and he got up and was fine, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa, I'm not going in there with you.
Well,
and that was it. And I kind of thought it was funny.
Well, no, I brought it up because that's the scene that Mary Whitehouse, or at least the Mary Whitehouse Brigade, basically held up as a picture of, this is what's wrong with Doctor Who today.
That's all the more reason to like the scene.
Well, no, what I'm saying, though, is if you look at that scene today, there's worse on children's cartoons.
Yeah, there's worse than a guy with a little bit of red makeup jumping up and grabbing a guy and pulling him into the green liquid.
On the note is Aaron did hit on something, and I'm going to hit the other end of this equation with my least favorite scene, is when the doctor takes that overloading laser, points it in the direction of the guards, and uses it to escape, knowing that one of the guards is going to walk around that corner and die. Because that's not a very doctory thing to do.
No, but also I would have to actually disagree with that slightly because that guard should have seen that beam already being shot through that area, and he just walked into it anyway.
Again, that might be part of the issue with the special effects.
That could plausibly be some of it, yes. That was just a really badly executed scene, if nothing else.
But yeah, because I'm actually trying to do a mental tally of how many people the doctor directly or close to directly killed in this episode.
Accidentally killed.
Because there's that
3.
guard.
Didn't
The
ask the baths, so I would bring up to 3.
3, the guys at the end, which is
Does
6.
the acid bath
6.
count? I mean, that's what I was thinking.
I
Does
said accidentally.
does failing to save someone count as killing them?
Well,
And of
he
course, that's
taps the
always a
one
big
guard
question.
on the shoulder, who turns around and pops into the other guard and knocks him into the acid bath. And then he spends the next 2 minutes wrestling with that guard until his dying compatriot drags him in.
Or he wasn't even really. He was pretty much just like putting a table in front of him so that he couldn't come and grab him.
And then there's him instructing them to kill the guards at the end, or the guys at the end. So, knowing that was going to be lethal.
Yeah,
so either 4 or 6, depending on your
And I
point of
think-
view.
I
Yeah,
don't
kill about
remember
6
which, but I think one of the Peladon stories. I think he killed a bunch of ice warriors or someone, and I remember raising an eyebrow at that.
I don't remember him killing a bunch of ice warriors. I remember
Either
him-
ice warriors or
he
one or
used
the high
the,
priest guys, one of the two.
He used the fake spirit thing to kill several.
Oh,
ice
yes,
warriors.
that's
I mean,
right.
he definitely had Agador kill people for him.
And Agador killed. He used Agador to kill 2 people.
Oh, that's right. That's what I'm thinking. When he took the machine Agador and used it to shoot somebody, I think it was.
Well, he
I
was
think it
also
was
trying
some ice
to
warriors.
help defend these people to try and get them to safety, though, too. So he was also defending them against what was obviously an aggressive threat to everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I, and it might be a double standard on my point, but when the doctor kills a alien monster, it's one thing.
Mhm.
But when he kills somebody that looks human, that's a different level.
Especially a humanoid that he can usually talk his way out of. Whereas ice warriors, they're the kind of people that wouldn't be sitting there listening.
Because I don't bat an eye when the doctor kills Daleks
Or Cybermen.
or
Yes.
Cybermen. In fact, by his own words, the doctor considers Cybermen to be already dead.
And this is where it would be nice if the Two Doctors was a better serial, because this is the season of that story, and that story was supposed to tackle that double standard, except it was not a very good story.
Which one?
The Two
Two
Doctors,
doctors.
which we would be reviewing this month if not for the fact that we had
We
already reviewed it.
We already reviewed it way back.
At least a year and a half ago, if I'm mistaken.
Probably long. It was in our first. It was right after Series 7B aired. Before
So
Day of
close
the
to
Doctor.
2 years.
Over 2 years. Yeah, because it was mid 2013.
It was our
after, like,
21st
2016.
podcast, and the reviewers was me, Matt, and Bill. That was it.
Yeah, so late into our 2nd year.
If you're looking at it, what was the score? Just a refresher.
3 from you and me, and 4 from Matt. Oh wait, no, sorry, 2, 2, and 2.5. Looking at
Okay.
the table wrong.
Ah.
Hey, you
I was
can
gonna
do
say
that
3,
when you've
3,
got
and 4
wall of
sounds
text.
like it was better than we thought it was going to be.
What's that?
I'm like, if it was 3, 3, and 4, it's better than I remembered it being.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna
that
say
was
yeah,
that was
the
that was the
two.
rating for the 5 doctors.
Got you.
So that
Wrong
is one of our
doctors.
basement dwellers. All right. So, where was I?
We were talking about the fact that he fired, or about how many people he
Yep.
He
kills
killed 6
directly
people,
or
yeah.
indirectly.
So we went through everybody's least favorite scenes.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
hey, look, we're only an hour 15 into the podcast.
Mm.
Yeah.
Short episode.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh well. They happen
Since
once in a while.
since I missed it, were there any big reactions to any of the blurbs in the Big Finish Masters?
Not really. There was.
I'm
I
still
think
trying to figure out why the Jeffrey Beaver's master is buried in the English countryside. I've been trying to figure it out for the past 5 days.
I don't know.
Eh.
Well, the closest I figured out so far is that sometime after he was Eric Roberts, he reverted back to being Jeffrey Beavers, but I still don't know why he's buried in the English countryside.
Either that or Jeffrey or Jeffrey Beavers was not the one that. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, that's a very good question.
Based on TARDIS data core, he's Jeffrey Beavers, then he becomes Ainley, and then he becomes Beavers again, and then he becomes Roberts, and then he becomes Beavers again.
So it's like
Because
Beavers.
because Beavers is the actual Time Lord that's traveling from body to body, and when he has no body, he becomes Beavers again.
That's really weird.
It kind of makes sense, but it is really awkward.
It doesn't help that the VNAs and Big Finish seem to have completely separate timelines.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's not unusual. So, other things to say about this episode. One of the things that I actually liked about this episode was the fact that it kind of was, political or social commentary, and not just a Eric Soured crapsack world.
Oh, what was I was something while I was watching it, something. Oh, so I take it you watched this back in the 80s, right?
Yep.
So when you were watching End of the World with the Ninth Doctor, did you have flashbacks to this episode? Moisturize me, moisturize me.
A little bit.
It's like twinges, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it was more the other way around. I don't think I caught it the first time, but when I went to rewatch this episode, I'm like, oh my god.
It's a combination of Bad Wolf and End of the World.
It's like, oh, that's where RTD got it.
Yep. Now, here's something. I don't think reality TV had quite gotten to the point it is now back in the 80s. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, you're right.
Yes and no. No, in the fact that it hadn't actually got there, but many works of fiction were dealing with this kind of concept.
Gotcha. So it was in the
Running Man.
we're afraid
Yes.
this is going to happen stage, and that it actually happened.
Yeah. Because, as Matt said, do you remember the book and movie The Running Man?
Mm.
I'm familiar with it. I haven't actually read it yet, but I'm
The
familiar.
book
I've
is
heard of
actually
it.
originally
I've heard-
written by Stephen King. The movie
Oh,
it
wait,
stars Arnold
no.
Schwarzenegger.
Oh no, that's right.
Yeah.
The Arnold
thinking of
movie
The
is
Long Walk
awesome.
for a
I've never
second
actually read
because
the
I think
book.
they're very similar.
Mm.
But the movie is about a guy that's convicted of a crime, and instead he chooses to appear on a game show where he has to fight for his life against these other executioners.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
In this arena. Basically, he appears in one section. His goal is to reach the other side, but there's these executioners that come in and try to kill him on the way. Hence why it's called The Running Man, because he's running to get there. So it's very similar in concept to this.
Right.
Mhm.
In some
In
places.
fact, probably where they got some of their ideas. But
Mhm.
also, if you think about X-Men comics of the 1980s and their invention of the creation Mojo.
I think
Mojo.
that's the character that I was talking to Matt about because I was
Yeah,
talking
I
to Matt
couldn't
about
remember
the
his name
cartoon
either.
because
Mojo, okay.
I was trying to find a clip of him from the cartoon. But yeah, I definitely remember that.
And that's the same concept.
Yeah.
And that was the 1980s. That
hmm
In particular, the X-Men one I think was early '90s, but yeah.
No, Mojo came in before that.
Oh, the original comic book version, yeah, that probably
Yeah,
came in the '80s.
the cartoon version was early to mid '90s. The comic would have been before that. Yeah.
By at least 5 to 10 years, yeah.
So that would have been, I think, contemporary to this.
And that's not too
Mhm.
far off from another Stephen King story, which I think might have even been before The Running Man, which was The Long Walk, which was not quite to this extent, but it was still, a life or death thing that was, broadcast to the entire country. It was kind of like a precursor to the Hunger Games almost thing.
So, yeah, Mojo first appeared in November 1985, which was basically the same time as this.
Yeah.
So, and The Running Man, which we also mentioned, was the same concept.
Yeah.
The film itself was 1985 or 87, so a couple years later. The original novel was 1982.
So that idea has been out there for a while already.
Yeah.
And it was a bit different from the novel.
Yeah, but it's that whole thing about
Reality TV, watching people die, kind of
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
yeah, that's still included in the original version or in the novel. So, I think the concept began in the early '80s, which we see things like this predicting it happening. And then somewhere in the '90s, early 2000s, we actually got to begin to see reality television actually take hold, of which I have been infinitely pissed off about.
It's kind of ironic that game shows were the first reality television, yet Vengeance on Varos predates Bad Wolf, both in setting and in reality.
Mm-hmm. So, I actually there's also social commentary on voting and audience appreciation in this too, with the two characters and their punch-in voting and their appreciation nods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all this side commentary, but wrapped in a package that Eric Soward would be able to digest.
Yeah, and they were a combination of the fans you can never satisfy and the constantly angry voters that post on Facebook about how terrible the certain politician is when they're no better or worse than the one that came before.
The troll and the devotee really is kind of their archetype. So that was just I find that all very interesting, and this episode managed to hold my attention quite a bit when I was younger. I saw it multiple times. It's always one of the first ones I got when it came out on media. So that's one of the reasons that I like it. I think
I think we're almost coming to the end. Actually, I'll save that for later.
Well, I was going to say, is there any further thoughts before we go to final thoughts? Anything in particular?
Pretty much my final thoughts. So.
All right, one more thing.
Syl goes on from this episode to rename himself Jabba, and then to be killed by a princess.
Except for the fact that still this would have actually been the year after Jedi.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
No. You wait.
Or as the first Doctor would say, time and relativity explains it.
Actually, I actually think you're wrong. By the way, wait until you see what was it? Mind warp.
Yeah.
Because you will actually see other members of Syl's race.
Oh.
And you find out that Syl's not really so much Jabba the Hutt as he is the little creature on Jabba's
monkey lizard. Slimer also crossed my mind. If he was a ghost.
But what'd you think of Syl's costume? Especially considering the budget that they were in.
It was well done. I didn't really see any, gaping flaws in it to the point where it would ruin your suspension of disbelief or anything like that.
Yeah, I bring it up only because they had to completely make the costume for this episode. As opposed to, being able to reuse something, this had to be a completely new costume.
Especially for that actor.
The actor.
Yeah, was it a puppet or a small person?
It was a small person.
Yeah, that was Nabil Shaban was Syl.
That was a puppet.
I'm
That was
actually
one hell of a
seeing
puppet.
if I can get his.
True. Yeah, actually, they would have needed a much bigger budget for that to be a puppet than to be an actor.
Mm-hmm. Still, it did.
Star Wars could have pulled it off, but not Doctor Who in the 80s.
Yeah. They could have pulled it off today. Although they probably still wouldn't, because they still could have done something within an animatronic.
Yeah, they have a stable of actors who do specifically this type of character now. So.
Yeah, the only thing they would not actually use the actual actor is if they had like a far away shot where they'd show a small army of them crawling.
They would either use the guy that plays Strax or the guy that played Bonicafalata.
More likely Cafalata.
Yeah, but at the same time, they would have a more in-depth animatronic, something like the Mox of Valhoon, or something like that. But I personally think, with them, with the budget that Doctor Who had, that costume was particularly well done.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good.
It made you knew exactly what that was.
Mm-hmm.
That was a reptilian alien slug thing.
I would have liked to see it in some decent light.
You will see it in better light in Mind Warp when we do that.
I think they also touch up the makeup a little bit too.
Maybe a touch, but like I said, you're also going to see others of his species in that too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, final thoughts. We will start with you, Matt.
Final thoughts. While there are some glaring flaws, in particular the lighting seems to be a huge, massive problem, along with the budgetary strains. There's still a lot of things like Syl's outfit, the interesting guard outfits, which obviously aren't completely from leftover stuff, but must have been at least in part from leftover other costumes.
Love the Varos logo, by the way.
Yeah, the Varos logo everywhere. They mass-produced a lot of those, so that had to cost them a small fortune. The only cheap costumes I can think of are the two bodyguards for Syl, actually.
And the cannibals.
Oh, and the cannibals, yeah. Those are like the only really cheap costumes. They obviously threw as much budget as they could at this particular story. And also the writing for after the Doctor finally gets to Varos, the writing picks up to where you want it to be, and the rest of this is a straight-through ride that you will enjoy every moment of. So
all right.
It got a lot better after that point.
All right. Tim?
Before I really got into Doctor Who, I had heard stories that Colin Baker was people's least favorite classic Doctor, and it was based on the scenes in this episode, the acid bath scene, particularly, his reaction to that. Oh well, they're dead now. Oh well. But I didn't really have a problem with that. In fact, this is one of my favorite episodes. And Colin Baker is one of my favorite Doctors.
All right.
Despite its budget limitations, the acting was spot on. It was a well-built world, and the writing was intelligent, and it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill.
I'm going to say I watched this last night and today, and both times I had a lot on my mind, and I kind of wish I had watched it the day before when I was watching the Space Museum instead, and Ren was actually chastising me for watching a different serial.
And
And
he's
I've got
rightly
to
so.
say, I just could not get into it, and I feel like my mind state was at least half of that. So that said, I'm probably going to be the low baller here, but I'm probably going to change that next time I watch the episode.
All right.
Yeah, you
Aaron-
definitely need to give it a better chance when you actually can focus.
Yeah.
Aaron.
I enjoyed the well, first off, I remember seeing this episode on PBS and being fairly disappointed. This was one of the first views I got of the new Doctor of the Sixth Doctor, and I just wasn't really into him. Like after Peter Davison and reruns of Tom Baker and John Pertwee. But watching it now, I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of depth and just very well told story and characters that are in it. Like, even if we don't get to know all of their names, we still can identify them. So I'm glad I gave it another shot.
All right. I also remember this from PBS when I was a kid, and at that point, I was fascinated by the story, the prisoner story. I actually watched it twice because I saw it here and I saw it 2 weeks later at my grandparents', and both times I was riveted to the screen. But coming to watch it later, only then, as an adult, do I get to realize, the commentary, the social commentary written into the episode, and you get to watch closely the actors and realize how much they enjoyed doing their bits. And that's really what I get out of this episode. It was very well written, very well acted. I don't know that much about the directing. Obviously, the lighting and some of the special effects suffered due to BBC budgets of the time. But still, I find this to be one of the hidden gems of season 22. And I completely believe that anything they say about it being overly violent and nasty, it bears nothing compared with modern television.
Yeah, pretty much.
So your ratings, Matt. You're first up on the plate.
Like I said, this is a pretty good story. The only downfall is mostly the BBC and the issues they were having behind the scenes. So I can't really totally blame it on the episode itself, but it will detract it a little bit. So I guess I will give it about a 4.
4 flat.
4 flat should be fine for this, yeah.
All right. Tim.
I'm going to give this a 5.
5 from Tim. Bill.
Based on what I experienced with the cavat I gave earlier, I can't yet give this anything other than a 3.
3. Aaron.
I'm going to actually give this one a 4, along with Matt. I thought it was halfway decent here. It was very much worth a watch.
I am going to agree with the panel and give it a 4.0. I will say that it is almost a 4.5 in mine, but it doesn't quite make that 2.5 level.
Yeah, it's just a little shy of that.
And that makes the average a 4 flat. Wow, how about that?
Pensions on Varos. It's worth your watching at least once.
Yeah.
And that will put... and again, this may change if Bill can watch it with a clear mind.
Mhm.
Right.
Might crank it up a bit.
All right, sorting it now. I hate it when I can't remember how to sort my data. You would think I've been doing this for months now. I would know. So, Vengeance on Varos with a 4.0 comes in at number 59 out of 137, just above the halfway mark. It is above and tied with Castrovalva, Planet of the Spiders, Rose, Good Man Goes to War, One Way Bride, Attack of the Cybermen. So it's actually the same one as its previous episode. It is above Into the Dalek, Blink, and Monster of Peladon, which we did last week.
Mm-hmm.
And just below, Girl Who Died, Closing Time, Under the Lake, Mummy on the Orient Express, Army of Ghosts, Doomsday.
Just all sorts of good company for it.
So, a good middle there. I would say that if Bill can look at it with a clearer mind, he can actually, and it goes up, it actually might go into the top third.
And of course, as I look forward to a clearer mind, next Wednesday I'll be here on time, but it will also be my second day of classes in a new semester. So who knows when I'll next have a clear mind.
It's the day before my first day of class.
I think the next time I'll have a clear mind will be spring break. No, I'll probably have assignments due, so let's just say May to be safe.
All right.
GG.
You want to go ahead and do the outro, Bill?
Sure. If you enjoy our videos, please like the videos on YouTube and consider subscribing on Twitch.tv, YouTube.com even, and Mixcloud.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook.com/UnearthlyPodcast and Twitter.com/UnearthlyPod. And if you want to support us, you can always head on over to Patreon.com/UnearthlyPodcast and throw your pocket change at us.
All right. And then, of course, you can feel free to join us next week as we'll continue our journey to complete Season 22 with Colin Baker in Mark of the Ronnie by Pip and Jane Baker.
Excellent.
45 years of Master, and we're showing them, and we're doing a Master review.
True.
How about that?
Mark of the Ronnie. See you all next week.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.